and girls, welcome to week 3 of our after school cookery packs. We've been blown away the last couple of weeks with all your pictures and videos and things you've sent in. The pizzas from our last pack look fantastic. So this week we've got something sweet again for you. It's apple pie this week in your pack. And you'll need some of the equipment that we've given you in previous weeks. So you'll need to get your mixing bowl back out and you'll need to get your rolling pin back out. So you've built up a little bit of equipment which will help you this week. So as I said, it's a sweet treat this week is apple pie, which is a nice one that you can make and then you can share it as a family because there'll be enough to make one this size. So in your pack this week, you'll have your recipe, which you need to put in your Polly Pocket to keep as your recipe file. You'll also have 2 cooking apples. You'll have flour, butter, and you'll have your sugar and cinnamon. And then get your rolling pin and mixing bowl ready to go. So, like I always say, clean your work surface, make sure you've got washed hands and get an adult to supervise you because there'll be lots of chopping and using the oven and microwave for this recipe. So for this recipe, you're going to be making a pastry and a filling. So we're going to start with the pastry first and then we'll have a little look at the filling. So the first thing it says is to preheat the oven to 180 degrees. So I've already done that. So you need to set it to 180 degrees so that it's nice and warm when you put the pie in. And the first thing says, sieve the flour and salt into a bowl, rub in the margarine or butter until the mixture resembles fine breadcrumbs. So you've got your flour, which is measured out for you. If you've got a sieve at home, you can sieve it in, but if not, don't worry too much. And then also measured out for you, but you're welcome to use scales to check our measurements, is your butter or margarine. And then you want to mix this together until it makes fine breadcrumbs. Get your hands in there, it's going to get a little bit messy. Okay, so you want to mix it, keep going until it's fine breadcrumbs. So it's still a little bit thick. So once you've got to a fine breadcrumb mixture, you want to add the cold water. Okay, so the cold water is 6 teaspoons of cold water. So let me just go and wash my hands and I'll put the water in. Now I've washed my hands, I've got our mixture which is looking like fine breadcrumbs. You can add your cold water. Now it's 6 teaspoons of cold water, so make sure you get a small teaspoon and it is 6 in your mixture. Then you can use a knife to mix the water into the flour. Until it all comes together. Now it says to use your hand to firm up the mixture and make it into a ball. So I've made one earlier just to save some time. And you should get your mixture to look something like this, which is nicely rolled into a dough. So the next part says, divide the pastry into 2 halves, take 1 half and roll it out so it's big enough to cover the dish that we've got. So this is the dish that we've got. Okay, so when you roll it out, you need to make sure it'll cover the bottom of the dish. So we've got 2 halves. One's going to be for the top and one's going to be for the bottom. So if you've got a little bit of extra flour, you can just flour your work surface. Then use 1 half and then we're going to roll it out with our rolling pin. just want to roll your dough out into a circular shape. So keep turning it every time you roll a quarter to keep it in the circular shape. And then your guide to know how big you need to roll your dough out is your tin. And you want it slightly bigger than the bottom of the tin because it needs to come over the sides of the pie dish. So it needs to be bigger than the bottom of your tin so they can go fold over the sides. So keep rolling it out. You want quite a thin layer of the pastry. And I'm turning it every time I roll to make sure the thickness is the same all the way around. Okay, and once you've got it to a size that you're happy with, you can lift it onto your rolling pin. And then you can place it onto your pie dish. And you should have something like that. So now that we've done the bottom half of the pie, we're going to look to the filling, and at the bottom it gives the tips of how to make the filling. So we need to stew the apples beforehand by peeling them, cutting them, coring into slices and placing in a microwave with a few tablespoons of water and cook in the microwave. So you'll have 2 of your cooking apples. So if you get your chopping board ready, you can use a peeler if you've got one at home. If you haven't, you can use a knife, but just be really careful. And then you want to peel all the skin off your apple. If you're using a knife, just be careful. You want to make sure you get all the skin off the apple. Depending on your size of your apple, it might take quite a while to do this. Okay, and then just move your peelings to one side. Now you want to cut your apple. So we're going to cut it in half first of all. Okay, and then fold it so the flat side's on the chopping board. Cut it in half again. Then you want to take this cork out of the apple because you don't want that in your apple pie. So using a knife, be really careful. Cut your cork out. And then you want to make moon shapes of the apple to go in the apple pie. Quite thin, you don't want them thick. So cut it in half again and slice in half again. So you've got a moon shaped slice to go in your apple pie. I'm going to put that to one side because I prepared some earlier. So these apples I've cut as I showed you. I've put them into moon shapes and then I've put them into a microwavable bowl with a few tablespoons of water, and these have gone in the microwave to stew for 5 minutes. So keep an eye on them, give them a stir halfway, and they should be nice and soft, ready to go in your apple pie. So once you've done this stage, drain them so there's no water left in the bowl from the microwave and put them into your pie dish. There you can see in our pie dish. And then you're going to add your sugar and cinnamon to the apples to make them sweet. If you don't like cinnamon, you can just use sugar, but the cinnamon does add a nice flavour to your dish. So there's your apple pie dish. So next part 4, roll out the other half of the pastry, but we need to moisten the edge of the bottom layer of the pastry to place the second piece on top. Okay, so using a little bit of water. If you've got a pastry brush, that's great. If not, you can use your fingers. You need to moisten the edge of the pastry so that the top layer can stick to it. Okay, and then you can grab your second half of your pastry, flour your work surface again, and you're going to roll out, as you did with the first one, into a circular shape to cover the top of your dish. So moving as quarters again. And you're going to need a circular shape to fit the top of the entire dish. Use the dish as a guide to see if you've got the right size. Might need slightly bigger. Then grab your dish and use your rolling pin to put your pastry over the top, something like this. So now if we look at the next step, it says trim off any excess pastry with a knife in a downward motion against the sides of the dish. Flute the edges with pinching action using your fingers and thumb, and I'll show you how to do it with a fork instead if you want to do it like that. Then we're going to prick the surface of the pastry before putting in the oven for 20 to 30 minutes at 180 degrees. So we're going to get our knife. Then you want to cut the edge of your pastry off. Okay, until it's fit in your dish. Then you can use your fork to crimp the edge of the pie dish, or you can use your fingers to make a crimping action. So you have something like this. Then you want to cut the middle of your pie to allow the steam to come out. Then we're going to put this in the oven, 180 degrees for 20 to 30 minutes. Dish ready to go in the oven. I've put 2 slits in the middle to allow the steam to come out, and then I've used a fork around the outside to make sure that the steam can come out of all of the pie. If you've got a little bit of milk in the house, or an egg would be nice as well to make the top golden. You can use a little bit of milk or egg on the top, just so that it goes golden brown in the oven. And I'm going to go and pop this in the oven. So the apple pie has come out the oven. It's been in for about 25 minutes. Keep an eye on it. You want it to go golden brown on the top, but just keep an eye so you don't want it to burn. If you've got a little bit of leftover sugar that you've at home, when it's hot, you can sprinkle this on the top just to make it extra sweet. And then you've got a lovely apple pie that you can share at home with family. You might want to eat it with some custard, cream, ice cream. It's totally up to you. So if I just slice a little bit, you can cut it into quarters. We'd love to see your pictures this week of your lovely apple pies, so send them in to my email address or on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our YouTube video will be going on today.